Okay, so we love to give our listeners a happy hack. That's one action step that we can take right now to have a happier home, head, or health. So, Micha, if you had one happy hack to give today, what would it be?
My happy hack is a compliment jar or journal. Write down one thing every day. I have a jar, it's really big. Write down one thing you compliment yourself for every day. Yay, me doing this. Well done, that.
I
Compliment
love
yourself.
that.
What a concept.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Compliment.
it's like a self gratitude record.
Self yeah, yeah. And everybody has the gratitude journals. I can show you just because I have it right here. That's mine.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
well done,
Well
Micha.
done, Mika. I love that.
I love that. That's a great idea.
I already have the jar for that too. Oh, I'm going to go do
See,
it.
haha, why you know why I have that? Because we are minimalists. My husband was like, you cannot have this big jar if you don't have a use for it. And I'm like, totally have a use for it. And I was like, use for the jar.
Find a use quick before he makes you get rid of
Hurry.
it.
Quick.
I love that. A good job jar. I'm going to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And it's more fun with a jar than with a journal, but of course, not everybody likes to have something like that around. But
No, that's brilliant. That's something that everybody can do right now, this very second. This professional organizer just told you to go find a beautiful jar. Ready, set, go. Wonderful, Micha. Thank you so much. We're super excited to introduce today's guest on the HomeBod podcast, Micha Goebig, as the founder and CEO of Go Big Coaching, confidence and leadership coach. Micha Goebig helps high-achieving women become confident leaders in male-dominated spheres to gain the confidence and visibility to take their careers to the next level and then some. She takes her clients through unlearning what holds them back, and then through her 5-step framework to 10x their confidence at work. Her signature Unlearn Series of talks and workshops focuses on going beyond negative self-talk, impostor syndrome, perfectionism. I mean, this just goes down the checklist of everything we talk about. Self-sabotage, people pleasing. Need we go on? I mean, good heavens. Micha is a certified coach, speaker, and published author. And before training as such, she founded and still owns a boutique agency, Go Big Communications, that specializes in corporate communications for the German luxury car industry. Bring it on. That sounds awesome. With 20 years of experience as a communication expert and entrepreneur, she follows a German style coaching approach, efficient, pragmatic, solution driven, and direct. Like, who doesn't want to work with you right now? Hello. And she's not just blowing steam here. Micha holds a master's degree from the University of Munich. She taught at several colleges in the USA and Germany, and she's published 2 novels, one with Goldman and one with Random House, as well as multiple stories and essays, and trained with one of the German's leading executive coaches. I mean, good heavens, we could just keep going on, and then it's like, okay, we're done. But we get to talk to Micha now and talk about all things that can make our home, head, and health happy in this realm of women breaking that glass ceiling, that glass barrier. Micha, welcome to the HomeBod podcast.
Thanks for having me. My bio has never sounded so good.
Well, so where do you find the women that you work with? I mean, in a mental space, where do you find them, and where do you take them by the time they're done working with you?
So most of the women I work with are in corporate. So there are also founders in the startup space, entrepreneurs, but all of them really share that their environment is mostly male dominated. So either they are, let's say, in tech and STEM, so they might be even the only woman at the table, or if they are an entrepreneur, a founder going for funding, then they are dealing with all these investors who are mostly men. And most of them at this point are frustrated. They're frustrated that they are not being seen and heard, that, let's say, that's something every woman who's ever been in corporate knows. In a meeting, you say something and the discussion just moves on. And 2 minutes later, a guy says the same thing without, of course, saying, hey, that's what she just said, and gets all the praise.
Yep.
Those situations, right?
Yep.
And at a certain point, it's hard to do that without support, to go through that. And we see a lot of women, of course, giving up and dropping out of corporate instead of moving on to the next level, or not founding because it's scary. And it's scary enough with the support. But
Sure is.
without the support, it's heartbreaking to see all this expertise and experience. And then women might just, I don't know. I love yoga, but we don't need 100 million yoga teachers to change the society.
Right.
We need 100 million badassing women in
Woo!
corporate, in politics, owning
Yes.
companies.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and
Ashley,
I can
can you
see,
like-
I can see where there's always a double-edged sword, right? There is the inherent, just where society is because of history and where we've come from, but there's also women, like you said, self-sabotaging, and we're not assertive enough, or we don't trust our own, what's between our own ears, to the point of saying, no, this is what I've asked for and this is what I expect you to do. We get stuck in those traps of perfectionism, and it has to be perfect in order to move forward. So we're trying to change society, and slowly it's happening. We're getting there.
Mhm.
And, that is what it is at this point. But we have absolute ultimate control over ourselves, how assertive we are, how much we trust ourselves. So how do we get out of our own ways? How do we stop being our own worst enemy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically what I do in a nutshell, because the social activism part is something we all have to do together. And I see myself more as an ally on that part. The mindset thing, the build up yourself and your confidence. That's really my expertise. And one of the first things I usually tell women I work with, because everybody needs to hear that for some reason, because no matter where you grew up, that's something someone told you. Every woman seems to think that the line between being humble and arrogant is fine. That's not a fine line. It's like an 8-lane highway between humble and arrogant. And even there's not a fine line. Absolutely not.
No.
And when you think about it, people you find humble, people find arrogant. I mean, the most fit in between there.
I agree with you. And I think that we all struggle to, they say that women, like when they go into a job, they don't ask for the promotion, they don't ask for the salary that they deserve. When we're entrepreneurs, we tend to price ourselves lower than our male counterparts. Mm-hmm. And I was just listening to a podcast about women, especially alpha women, where we're so used to struggling, and we are so conditioned to believe that life is hard and we have to grind it out, and we're willing to grind it out. We're going to work, that we ask, instead of for the good stuff, we ask for people to give us the crumbs. We ask for them to give us just enough. And then we're like, okay with it, because we've decided in our heads that life needs to be a struggle. So we need to work our way up from that, instead of asking for what we actually want.
Right. And sometimes I play a game with my clients. Me being from Germany, my communication style is more direct. Sure. So every once in a while, I ask someone who is on the very indirect side. I mean, I'm on the West Coast, so it's here in Seattle, the communication style is a lot more indirect. And so sometimes what do you think I would say in that situation?
I love it.
Every once in a while, just, I don't want to do that guru thing here, but every once in a while, it's like, I ask that, and it's like, maybe something like,
Micha, my shoulder angel.
For me. Yeah. And it's like, probably I would say, seriously, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It has like four words, preferably 4 words in a sentence.
Yeah. Yep. Or that's not a priority for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I have like workshops like people pleasing on my list, because of course I'm struggling with those things too. Being a German people pleaser, that's a different thing than a people pleaser here, right? It's different on a different scale. But of course, I know the not wanting to say no. I sometimes even have post-its on my computer screens, like, I'm a gracious no for now. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah.
But this is
And
not
I
on my
think
list
that's the
right now.
important part. That's the important part,
Yeah.
is knowing how to say it so you don't feel like you're being a jerk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but so you're still protecting your boundaries. I know for
Yeah.
sure that's my clients. That's why they can't fit themselves on their schedule, is because they
Mhm.
don't say no to the right things, and they're saying yes to everything else, including, sacrificing their own bodies and their own sleep and their own happiness because they want to please the other people. And maybe it's not, they don't consider themselves a people pleaser because they think they're that alpha woman, but because they feel like they have to be in control of everything. They want
Yep.
to do all the things. They want to be the boss. I mean, I'm 100% victim to it. I'm sitting here in my car so that I could drive my daughter to her ski team training while I'm ordering the Girl Scout cookies for the Girl Scout troop. Like, hello. I mean, I certainly am, the pot calling the kettle black with that sometimes. But, I was intentional about it, and I at least made sure I brought myself healthy snacks.
Yay!
That's a good start. That healthy snacks make for better decision making, as we
Right?
know. Yeah. But yeah, I totally get that. And I really have to be very intentional about these things too. Like right now, we need one more member for the communications team. And I have an office manager. And it's taken me quite a long time to sort of get hands off in that agency business, mostly. And I need that one more member so that I'm really the CEO and not like also the task force, the emergency task force. And then I was starting to interview people and look at people, and I'm like, wait a second, I won't even be the person who works with these people very often.
Right.
I have to get my office manager involved and have her take the lead on this, because of course I'm hiring, but she's going to work with whoever we hire. So, and it was so hard. It's like, still no.
It's hard to relinquish
job. Yeah.
that power. And I heard something this week that I kind of glommed onto, because I've never really liked the idea of, like, if your world is going to hell in a handbasket, all you need is more self-care. Mm-hmm. I don't resonate with that topic. But she said most women don't need more self-care. They need a better community. And it's one of those where, okay, I can agree with that, because my community, my tribe, my entourage, whatever you want to call it, are the other people that are going to help me take what I am not good at, and they're going to take it and make it wonderful if I can let it go. Mm-hmm. But then I can focus my time on the things that I do best. So finding that community and being able to relinquish and delegate, I think has been a big journey for me. Do you see that as well, Micha, and the women that you work with?
Absolutely. I mean, I still talking about the self-care, I still do want to see me time on people's calendars. I'm sure
I was gonna say,
you do too.
Ashley.
No, I totally get me time. Totally get me time.
I totally know what Ashley means, because I'm also not the self-care. Self-care makes it all go away. I'm also very much a proponent of the delegation and community. Yeah. And I see that with a lot of people. With women in corporate, I think one of the problems is that on the one hand, the companies are starting to put together more groups for everybody who's basically not a straight white dude. Right. But that requires a certain level of vulnerability within the company, within the organization, to say I'm struggling.
Right.
So they might have
asking for help like that, or joining up forces. I think that is a form of self-care, because if you reach out and you say, I can't handle this, or I don't want to handle this, that is self-care. That's saying I'm going to look out for me and my mental well-being, and continuing to take on is not good for me.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I think a lot of times self-care is, and that's where I hesitated actually with naming my, my, what am I trying to say? My coaching package, because self-care has been bastardized, you know, and it's everything from a bubble bath to meditation to whatever. And I think we need to start getting really clear on what it really is, which is it's more like self-preservation or self-protection, where you're going, okay, you know what? Doing all these things for all these people is destroying me. Like I can't function. I can barely like think, because my brain is so full of things, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm not eating, and I'm not moving my body because I'm glued to my desk all day. That to me is the definition of self-care. Saying, okay, office manager, this is your job, you know?
Yep. And for me, it's also the difference between pampering and self-care is one aspect for me is that pampering makes me feel better right now, which often is a very good thing. Self-care is also more directed towards being nice to my future self. So
I love that.
I come from a family with a ton of good genes. So my mother is almost 90, and she hardly needs reading glasses. She definitely doesn't need a cane or anything. So she's and so I expect to live until, like, I don't know, 112 or something. So self-care is very much directed in making sure that I have quality of life for a very, very long time. Let's say, like, not drinking alcohol is a choice I've made that I consider a self-care choice. Or working out every day or whatever, going for long walks with my dog. That is what I consider self-care, because that it benefits me today, but also in the longer run. And somewhere in the middle is, I don't know, Goodwill treasure hunt shopping. Somewhere between.
Nice.
That's speaking Ashley's language right there.
There you go. Now we're getting into my world.
I'm very good at that. But then, of course, I've also had a capsule wardrobe for a long time. So
Oh, I love that.
Haven't anymore, but it's helpful even when you just do it for a while.
Yeah. So what else? What is one main problem that we can start working on now to get ourselves in a better mental, in a better headspace to be able to tackle these things that women face, to be able to get out of our own way? Is there, typically one or two things that every woman you meet with typically struggles with?
As most women, the vast majority, probably all of them, have a tendency towards perfectionism.
I've never been there.
Never. I'm not a control freak either.
Nope.
I usually ask people to choose. Oh, I'm asking you right now. That's a fun question, right? Decide one thing you're going to half-ass. One thing.
I can't half-ass anything, Micha.
You can half-ass something. You cannot half-ass your job. You cannot half-ass your client communication.
Right.
You cannot half-ass, I don't know, education, but you can half-ass laundry. You can half-ass emails. Okay. You can half-ass a ton of things. I eat almost the same thing all the time, just because I half-ass kitchen, everything to do with kitchen. So it's like quarter-ass, actually.
Oh, my kitchen suffers.
I like that. I like that so much, because
just
it's
one
really
thing.
Giving yourself permission to not do everything all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so this makes sense, because my grandfather-in-law went into college and said, okay, you're going to make me do general education, but I already know where I want to go. I want to be this. I want to have, this degree. So the general education courses are just a means to an end. So he said, what is the minimum I can do to get a passing grade in order to focus most of my time and energy on what's going to make me successful? So I see that as the same thing. Like he half-assed these college courses just to get a passing grade, just to say that he did it. Where me, on the other hand, I'm like, you didn't get straight A's. You didn't give it everything.
Yeah.
But I can see this. I see it. I get it.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, for me, I tried it out with emails and it was so freeing because I like in a previous life, I trained as an editor between college and grad school. I trained at a publishing house to be an editor. And I'm really obsessed with typos and commas. And it's just like, and I'm good at it. But with emails, it just takes too much time. If you rewrite and we've all been there, right? It's important. So I need to rewrite it 17 times. And one thing I learned as an editor was after the third round, it's never getting better. Chances are it's getting worse.
That's great.
And usually 2 rounds should be enough. But if it's super, super important, then after 3 rounds, nothing is ever getting better when it comes to writing and editing. And I think that applies to emails too. I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah.
First round of edits, often you draft something and then it's like, oh, there's something missing, or this is too much. That makes sense. And maybe another round. But after that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think that that's a really good, and even looking at, you know, what I ask people to do with making sure that they're eating right and they're exercising and they're taking the time to, you know, to focus on their mindset. I think you can still find something in there to half-ass. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's where I think my program is different than most, because I do want you to like track your food and know what you're eating, but I don't expect every morsel to be weighed on a food scale. If you can eyeball what 4 ounces of chicken looks like, sweet, do that. You know, if you can eyeball a tablespoon of this or whatever, that's fine. And could it be more or less? Absolutely. Will it break you? No. And I think that's where people they just get so lost in the details, and they got to measure every morsel and they got to track every weight they lift. And it's like, did you huff and puff? Did you lift some weights? Like, did you go to the gym? Sweet. Like, next thing, let's move on. Like, we don't need to be perfect. We're not preparing for a bodybuilding competition. You know, we're just trying to be a healthy human.
Right. And if you're traveling, then maybe let's just discuss what snacks you can easily pack and take with you so that you won't eat totally
exactly
bad.
Yeah. And I can see how in the world of organizing, we have been taught through marketing, through Pinterest, through Instagram, that in order to be organized, your home has to look perfect. And I like the idea of being able to teach my clients, hey, it's okay to half-ass making your bed. It's okay to half-ass put things away, because being organized does not equate to being perfect. And I think that's one of the things that I love about the idea of your course, Micha, is to unlearn what probably was never true in the first place. Yet through whatever means, whatever we have done, however we have taught ourselves to do something, we have learned an incorrect principle or an incorrect methodology, or maybe it's not incorrect at all. It's just not the best. To be able to unlearn that in order to learn what is successful and what is going to work for us, I think is pretty remarkable. So tell us a little bit more about the course that you take women through in this unlearning process.
So what we start with is that I really ask people a lot of questions to see how I want to customize the work I'm doing with them. Because right now I'm working on a book. So right now I'm focusing on one-on-one. I still do workshops, but that's a more general thing. When I work with someone in person, then I really check where those things are. And it's usually relatively easy to find. Like, you have your specialties, you hear a word, you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what that is an indicator for. And I usually take people through my 5-step confidence framework And as we look into where we can create that confidence well, and that they can tap, even if they are facing a challenge they have not faced before. So you have to get that confidence from something else, something you've done before, or for instance, you have to have confidence if that you are going to figure it out very quickly. So we try around with that. That's one of my favorites, is like, I know I can figure out things quickly. So whatever there is, that thing is, I'll probably figure that one out too. Or when I think about so many non-technical people in tech, women, they have learned so much. Of course, they are learning whatever the next challenge is. So they can have total confidence in that piece. And when we work on that, that's a big part of the work, that mindset work. There's usually where we encounter the stuff that needs to be unlearned, because that's when it's like, no, but I need to be better than anybody I manage, for instance. That's about, I need to know everything in that field if I take that position. I can only be the manager if I'm better than everybody else on the team. Or if I want more money, if I want double the money, I have to put in double the work and provide double the value. Those are things where you can see clearly, okay, we have to unlearn a little bit of negative self-talk here, or we have to let go of perfectionism or the imposter syndrome. That, of course, that shows up very often for non-tech founders and professionals in tech. I mean, I know imposter syndrome well enough. That's it's just something that shows up, but it's totally something you can manage. It's really, in the end, that journey is about learning to master your mind and your thoughts and applying them to your advantage.
Yeah, I love that. Use your mind to your advantage. I love that so much.
Right? Because we think 60,000 thoughts a day, so might as well plant a few there that actually help us.
And be cognizant of the ones that aren't helpful and see if you can stop them in their tracks.
Exactly. And there are so many methods, and I think that's why one-on-one work is so relevant, because I mean, you see that in your areas of expertise as well, because there are so many things that work.
Right.
But seeing what is the best thing for you, because you want to make it easy. Right? Habit building has to be the easiest way to make it work for you.
Right.
Or the funnest.
Oh, now you're talking my language. That's big into the world of fun.
I love sorting books alphabetically. That's actually fun for me.
Yep.
Right. So
you guys are nuts. That is not fun. That is not fun. You know what's fun is burpees.
Maybe she's only nuts. I'm nuts and German. So that's I can't help.
But I like coaches who work one-on-one with people because of that. I mean, I love the Johari window, just knowing and understanding that there are things about me that you can see that I can't see, that I might be blind to. And that's why we have sayings like, you can't see the forest for the trees, because somebody else is going to be able to see your strengths and your weaknesses differently than you can. My kids came to me the other day and they were like, I don't have any talents. I don't have any strengths. And I pointed them out and just boom, 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 boom.
Of course.
They were like, those are my talents. And I said, yes, just because they come easily to you doesn't mean that they're not a talent. I'm not a good artist. That's just not a natural thing for me. So being talented doesn't mean that you work and stress and try and develop a talent. It means something that you already have that comes naturally. But sometimes we are so blind to it that we can't see that. So I love being able to work with a coach who can see that in me, see the negative that I need to work on, but also see the positive that can just come naturally that I can take and run with and turn that into, not only a talent, but then a strength to be able to take it and be marketable with that strength. So
I think coaches are also good for being able to tell you to stop beating your head against a wall. You know, if you like, is it physically possible for you to ever have that as a talent? Like, no matter how hard you work, maybe that's not something that's in the cards for you. Like, I will never have long legs. I can, I can try really hard and I can stretch all day long, but my legs are never going to be long, right? My muscle structure is the way it is. My physique is the way it is. I will never have a, 20-inch waist. That's just not in the cards for me. So if I look at someone and I'm like, oh, maybe if I do enough sit-ups or I do enough whatevers, I wear a waist trainer, which PS, they don't work. I'll have space. Well, they do work if you want to squish your organs, but that's another conversation.
Right. Remove a rib. Mm-hmm.
Remove a rib. I mean, they did it in like the 1900s, so we can do their 1800s. But anyway, I think a coach, that's what I had a coach point that out to me. And I was like bitching and moaning about something that I wanted. And she was like, okay, let's just pause for a second. Is that even attainable ever in your lifetime? And I was like, oh, nope, probably it's not. She's like, so stop wishing you had it.
Yeah. But there's one more thing I would like to add to that. There are women who might not be very tall or have very long legs, but they look so tall.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So again, and I think it's the same with the body as with the mindset. You cannot grow beyond your, I don't know, whatever 5'5" or whatever your height is. So I've heard that recently from my Pilates trainer that she grew half an inch.
That's possible.
That's possible because
vertebrae.
Posture,
half an inch, but I'm only 5'2", so 5'5" is not the card.
But some people seem a lot taller because of posture and because of confidence or the visibility they gain.
Yes,
and maybe a few tricks here and there, but not taking out ribs or extending bones, right? Not that type of trick.
When I get to a point where I need a knee replacement, I'll just have him add a couple of inches to my legs through my knees. Oh dear. Well, Micha, thank you so much for this conversation. I know that we just barely scratched the surface. And this is something, I mean, each of those things that you talk about, the perfectionism and the self-sabotage and all of that can be an entire conversation in and of itself. So if we have somebody in our audience who is going, yes, I need her in my life, where do they find you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
My website is goebigcoaching.com. So they can always reach out to the website. Also through LinkedIn, Micha Goebig. And I do also look at Instagram. Facebook is not a good way, but that I won't see. But you can reach out through any of the usual channels. And I am absolutely happy to hop on a half-hour call and see what's going on and at least help with one area. I promise that in 30 minutes, we cannot probably transform your entire life, but we can find one thing. Probably not. We can find one thing that makes the one issue you come with easier.
Wonderful. Micha, thank you so much. You are a force to be reckoned with, and we're so grateful that you took the time to be with us on our show to improve the happiness of our home, head, and health. Thanks, Micha.
Thanks for having me.